So we are live with Matt from Nomic Bridge, and I wanted to speak to you in relation to the recent hack that happened. It's probably not as related as some would really think, because it's different product. But I left the tweet, and in the tweet I said. Um, well, I, I would say I'm not decided on Bitcoin, but I'm a huge fan of Nomic. And someone said, "Breach again, really?" Um, and that's why I came to you, because even I asked on the Discord, I wanted to make the video about this. Um, I'm non-technical person, so I wouldn't be able to explain this correctly. So if you could share why the breach like Nomad, if you know anything, was exploited, and what's different about Nomic in this regard, if if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good question. Like, I think bridges are just such an interesting thing because, fundamentally they're like such a big target for hacks, and so many bridges have fallen apart. And so I understand it feels like the market is adjusting and people are like going to be really cautious about using bridges. And, that's probably a good thing, but like, it doesn't mean they're going to be fundamentally broken. Like, over time, certain bridges will prove themselves. Um, and yeah, so for Nomic, really, we've just been thinking about it for a very long time, and we have all these different security mechanisms. I've already talked about these in past interviews and stuff like that
Mhm.
too, but like, I guess I just want to drill down the point that we've, like, over time, we can just keep thinking about it and thinking about it and improving the design and like adding more fail safes, and like all these things sort of combine to reduce risk. I think any bridge, like, there's always some amount of risk, because I mean, really any crypto system, like, there's always risk that you implemented something wrong and that there's bugs. But you can also have fail safes so that even if some part of the system is broken and gets exploited, then it can't totally fall apart. So it's also nice that these other bridges can pave the way and we can learn from their mistakes and think of fail safes. So, like, for instance, what happened with Nomad, I think there's some simple mechanisms you can add that would, like, even if you had some issue like they did, then it wouldn't totally fall apart. So for example, like, we're really interested in adding a circuit breaker mechanism. So for instance, like, Nomad got hacked, people like sort of claimed all this money from it, and the whole thing was drained instantly. And there's never a time when the bridge is operating normally that all the money should just suddenly disappear that fast. And so we can have a system where, like, in Nomic, a way we could implement that is the signers could have this circuit breaker where if too much money is trying to leave the bridge too quickly, they sort of just like refuse to sign. And like, either like we can manually intervene and figure out what's wrong and fix the issue or whatever. But like, essentially, even in the worst case, if there was some fatal flaw, there's some big bug, and someone was able to like take all the NBTC, they'd only be able to get maybe like 5%, and then it shuts down. And because like, there's no one
Because
that's
of
going.
that, because as you said, if there would be too quick, but sorry for stopping you, but isn't
Okay.
that kind of against the ethos of crypto, that you bring the not third party system, but the system that third party like you developer designed to to protect that? Like, isn't that interference into the free market of crypto? I would.
I don't think it's opposed to that. It's not something where like we're given authority or anything like that. It's
Mhm.
just like a built-in rule that if money is moving too quickly, then the system sort of pauses or slows down. I think, yeah, you could also do it in a way where people could opt out of that protection. So like
Mhm.
there might be some risk that if there's some fatal bug, their money could just all leave quickly. But the trade-off is, if you're some giant whale and you have $50 million of Bitcoin in the bridge and you need to get it out instantly, you'd still be able to do that as
Mhm.
opposed to having to like wait a few days or something like that. Um,
Mhm.
so like really, I think the answer to all of these things is just coming up with like all these different little things that add up to
Mhm.
as much security as possible. So yeah, we've talked about how Nomic has this sort of like taproot script on the Bitcoin side, so we can spread out the trust among many validators. So, or even beyond the validator set, because Tendermint validator sets are usually limited to like 100 or so, and on the Bitcoin side, we can support up to 1,000 signers. So we can even
Mhm.
have people sort of helping provide security for holding the Bitcoin, even if they're not a validator. So you can be running this
Mhm.
sort of this node that's not a validator node, but you're still adding security, and you can still be earning staking rewards through that. Uh, like that adds a lot of security. We have this mechanism where like our emergency dispersal mechanism. So even if everything falls apart and there's like a liveness failure and the chain halts, everyone still gets their money back on the Bitcoin side. So that makes things a lot safer, and even makes so that like only a small minority has to be honest, because like
Mhm.
if there's some issue, then just a few nodes can just take their nodes offline and everyone gets their money back. So like all these different things sort of combine, uh, we like just trying to make it like 99.999% secure, and I think we can just always prevent these like fatal flaws. So.
So I wonder, and maybe it's the weird note I jump into the security, but when you see the exploits in the bridges, is you being like, hey, that was so easily avoided? Do you see the mistakes they made, or I'm not even sure if you looked at the Nomad or any other bridge, but do you check and like, hey, it was the silly mistake here? Is it visible, or is it something that you think that was difficult to actually um, predict or actually avoid?
I think it was it wasn't just some obvious flaw. It's not like people could have just looked at it and been like, hey, look, this was broken, everyone knew it. It was just some small detail that was overlooked. But it is a really interesting point, is that they had that security audit, and those auditors found that issue and told them about it, but they just misunderstood what the issue was, and so they said, oh, this isn't an issue, and really it was just there. And so in that case, like that was just poor handling of, somebody told them about this and they could have totally
Yeah,
fixed it, but they like misread it or something. I'm not sure exactly what happened. And so, and that's
this
just one
part I
lesson.
didn't know.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like, I think that's just one lesson to learn, is that like, in security
Hmm.
audits, just like read the report very carefully, I guess, and
Hmm.
like double check that you understand what they're saying.
So this hack, I'm not sure if you seen how was it, but it seemed like there was one main actor, but then a lot of retail jumped on. Do you think it was I think I read some tweet that the big hacker groups can do this type of exploits and share them in order to get blended in the do you think that's the case here, that was happening? Maybe not sure if you try to analyze that.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Yeah, it's surprising that they wouldn't just, like, that first hacker wouldn't just take all the funds, that they sort of
Yeah.
left it for like many people to sort of
Hmm.
dip in and grab some money out of it. I'm not sure what the logic is there. I don't know if it was just easier, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
interesting. It kind of like everyone was saying, it was like a decentralized robbery. So Yeah.
It kind of showed the nature of the people, that once it comes to money, no one cares about anything, and everyone jumping on to grab the piece of pie. Um, there was some other discussion, because I said, like, hey, I guess you can't bring Bitcoin any other way to the. By the way, let's stop. No, congratulations, Matt, because the first IBC transaction happened, and I should say it at the start, actually. So so with that, it means that we are IBC connected.
Yeah, just on a test net, like on an internal test
Yeah.
net. So yeah, there's still some tweaks to make, but like we've gotten through all the major hard parts of like making it IBC compatible, and
Hmm.
yeah, we sent some testnet Bitcoin onto the hub, and yeah, so the next step will be launching that on like the official Nomic testnet pretty soon, and then assuming all of that goes well, launching it on mainnet soon after. So we're getting really
Yeah.
close.
Is there a timeline? Is it like month away, 2 months away?
Less than 2 months. Yeah, I don't want to like put definite concrete times
Yeah.
on it, but like just
Yeah.
very soon. We're almost there.
Yeah. And I remember 2 months ago, I think Jack Zampolin was tweeting at you that implementing IBC will not be that simple, right? And I saw he was actually congratulating you on Twitter. It happened very
Yeah,
fast.
yeah, there was like back when we originally talked to him about IBC, we had some misunderstandings. Like basically, since we've built so much stuff outside the Cosmos SDK and
Hmm.
built it all custom, there were certain parts that we thought would be a lot harder to connect. Uh, but then it turned out, it was like easier than we thought. It didn't take any changes in the SDK, like or on the Cosmos Hub
Hmm.
side. So
Yeah.
it ended up being easier than we thought, and yeah.
Did he engage with you? Did he got in touch with you and trying to maybe look up what you are building, or he wasn't on it yet?
Uh, like we haven't talked to him really in detail about these things, but
Hmm.
yeah, I think we had a conversation in a chat a long time ago or something, and uh, I don't know, just things have
Yeah.
changed since then. We figured out how to do it the right way. So
Yeah. Um, how long did transaction took, that IBC transaction? Was it very fast,
yeah, it's
or
just the
was
same
it?
as any other IBC transaction.
Oh,
So
cool. Because I thought maybe because of this not being SDK, maybe it's longer, or
nope, should be
something like
exactly
this.
the same, really. Like from the other
Yeah.
chains perspective, it's not that different. So
Hmm. So the soy is asking, and regarding the hack, um, there's some option. I believe that would be in as the staking reward. Let's say you put the tax on the staking reward, and create the fund that could be. Have you considered something like this, or you don't think that's good solution?
that's interesting. I feel like it might be harder to do that than it seems, because like if that reserve is built up on chain, if there's a hack, then that fund will also get drained, maybe, depending on the
Yeah.
kind of hack. But if we have like a circuit breaker mechanism like we're thinking about, then maybe if there was a hack, it's like 5% of the funds gets lost or something like that, then it could still work to help
Yeah.
restore people's funds for something like that.
I guess it would make sense if it's run as the proper company, with the clear leadership, and you are in the um, you manage this sort of funds, right? Then it's okay, but you don't plan to do that,
Yeah, it's at
right?
least not in the plans right now, just because we don't want to be like an authority in the system or like this
Hmm.
sort of like official figure. We're just sort of developers writing this code and uh, putting it out there. We don't want to be like holding funds for the network, but uh, I don't know. It's still worth exploring, and there could be something like off-chain insurance, like insurance from like traditional companies, because there's certain
Right.
insurance companies like Lloyd's of London, like part of their pitch is like they'll insure literally anything, like the premiums, like they'll have to like figure out how much you're going to have to pay for that based on like what they perceive the risk to be. But like we could literally just say like, okay, just figure out what you think the risk of this getting hacked is, and like we can pay you premiums to insure it.
Yeah. I was also asking because it's quite popular that projects put the tax on the staking rewards and build up community pools with that as well, right? Do you think that would be something that you would like to see actually? Because like let's say Solana can raise $1 billion in funds or whatever, but if your project grow very fast, you can within like years get this funding purely with community, right?
Yeah, I think that'd be a really cool way to go, where like there's sort of this network reserve and it's being deployed through governance to pay for all these different things for the good of the network. And yeah, I feel like we've never raised money from anyone. It's just
Yeah,
been purely bootstrapped, and we've just been working with the community all this time. And I think in the future, it could make sense to sort of build alliances. Like if we wanted to work with VCs one day, then like it could be literally like they buy tokens from the network, something like
yeah.
that. I don't know. Just thinking out loud, but
Hmm.
yeah, I do like the idea of there being, a Nomic reserve like
Hmm.
for the network itself.
Hmm.
So
So someone also commented because I was like, hey, there is kind of no other way to bring Bitcoin to other chains than via bridge, and someone said Torchain, and I remember you did speak about this the last time that Torchain actually um use derivative, right? That it's synthetic Bitcoin. It's not actually bridged Bitcoin. So
yeah.
so why you can't use the synthetic Bitcoin in the I guess you can't really use it in the DeFi, or you can because someone said you cannot, and I couldn't really get why you couldn't use synthetic.
See, I
But
think you can. There's just like certain use cases that it doesn't make sense for. Like a big difference in using synthetics would be, and I'm not sure if that's even something that's just like fully launched on Thorchain.
mhm,
Like the core Thorchain mechanism is just basically a DEX, and
yeah,
but like if you want to use it for like other DeFi things, the thing with if it's just purely a synthetic, if you have a bunch of Bitcoin, you can't just simply like deposit it into the system and start earning from that. It would be
yeah,
like you'd have to like sell that Bitcoin for Atom or Osmo or whatever and like move it in and then trade it for synthetic Bitcoin. It's sort of like this weird,
yeah,
like slightly less native thing. But I think, it can give you price exposure to Bitcoin. So there's certain things you can still do with it.
yeah. I think it's people think it's native Bitcoin. It's not exactly. It's the representation of native Bitcoin, but it's
Yeah.
not native Bitcoin on Torchain, right? It's many exchanges doesn't like DYDX is not native really. I mean, it's native tokens,
Right.
but it's just the representation of the.
It's
So
basically,
it's
yeah, it's just based on a price oracle.
yeah,
And so there's not actually Bitcoin in the system in that case. It's not like you can have that token and then cash out and like withdraw Bitcoin into your
hmm
wallet. So yeah.
hmm I was thinking as the total noob, right? That when I deposit Bitcoin, there is my Bitcoin address and it's changing. And I was thinking maybe the breach is contained of many addresses that would make it more difficult to hack or exploit, but that's not the case, right? Is it?
I wouldn't say it makes it more difficult to hack. It's just simply like it's changing quickly because it basically that address contains the current validator set in it, and that's always
Hmm.
changing as people are delegating and like voting
Hmm.
power is changing. Um, it's yeah, so that's not like part of the security. That's just It does at least make it
Right.
convenient though, because you're also committing to your Nomic address, so you simply deposit to that address and then it shows
Right.
up in your account. But yeah,
But wouldn't be like, is it even possible when you have bridge to have bridge that would be made of many addresses, and that would make somehow
I see
security
what you're saying.
better?
Yeah, I think there are things we'll be able to explore with that in the future. So, for instance, the network could have a hot wallet and a cold wallet, and that's
Mm-hmm.
something, like that's already how centralized exchanges operate, where like most of the funds, they can be put into like a separate reserve where it's harder to access, but like that also means it's harder to hack. And so there's certain things that's hard to do right now on Bitcoin. There's certain proposals for changes to Bitcoin, like covenants.
Yeah.
There's like Jeremy Rubin's check template verify, something a lot of people talk
Mm-hmm.
about. So it's this sort of technical change that would make things like that possible, where we could have Bitcoin in this reserve where we can't take it out without like showing the spend for a few days or something like that. And so
Yeah.
if somebody was trying to hack it and steal the money, we would be able to see it coming and shut that down before it happens. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but then for funds that need to quickly move in and out, we have this hot wallet also. So I think eventually that's where we'll get to. But all these different things, it's just like over time we'll just keep adding these new security mechanisms.
But how in the decentralized uh how in the decentralized manner you could manage the cold wallet, like I mean community driven, like, because I understand the centralized exchange having cold wallet, but in case of Nomic, like how does it work?
So in a centralized exchange, it would be like a multi-sig where it's all like, employees at the exchange control the keys. But yeah, in the Nomic case, it's like the validator set makes up the
Mm-hmm.
multi-sig, but we can even go beyond that. And it's just, whales on the network, and it's like anyone who sort of would
Mm-hmm.
add trust, basically just, the collective community makes up this giant multi-sig. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
um so uh Jose is asking, and but I think it goes down to IBC, which is I wonder, maybe you could take over, because I could explain that actually IBC allows you to trade native assets on all chains once the IBC supported. Um, but let is it does it mean that IBC is superior to bridges? Is there any limits of IBC? Um, I guess question for the Bitcoin is unnecessary, because Bitcoin will just not support IBC, right? So if you want it, but do you think the IBC is essentially the end game for all chains, or are we gonna do still bridges even in the chains we maybe don't need them?
Yeah, I think IBC, I mean, it's just a matter of adoption. I'm not sure if every project will want to adopt IBC, if they'll have some similar competing standard, but like really after a while, all these chains will be connected in some way like that. Yeah, it is more secure than a bridge when it's like something natively, like both sides are natively verifying each other, like both chains know about each other. And I think, yeah, I don't know if anyone's working on that for Solana. That'd be pretty cool. Then, but at least for right now, we're just sort of focused on, the normal Cosmos style chains. Yeah.
Hmm. Um, and also with the Nomic, you kind of have, because if Solana is doing this, this is another non-Cosmos SDK. So any non-Cosmos SDK still can implement IBC easily, and that
Yeah.
includes Ethereum, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know what it looks like on exactly on Ethereum. That also looks sort of like a bridge, but just because of like gas constraints and things like
Hmm.
that. I think uh, yeah, it is really cool that fundamentally IBC isn't just tied to the Cosmos SDK, even though that's what most of them
Hmm.
use now. But like Nomic doesn't use the Cosmos SDK at all.
Yeah.
We do use Tendermint consensus, so we're similar in a lot of ways, but it's
Hmm.
like a cool testament to the idea of Cosmos and IBC that like we built everything from scratch and still works with
Yeah.
everything else.
I I wonder, finality of Lightning Network, is it like near instant?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
right, so we still would not be able to compete with the Lightning Network in transaction way, right? But it's kind of some solution to have faster transaction on Bitcoin if we have Bitcoin on Nomic, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's an interesting point because we can have payment channels and state channels, like something similar to the Lightning Network in Cosmos. Like it's sort of separate from IBC, like from the moving across chains aspect, but for like on one chain, like, there's like, it's already pretty fast for most use cases, like a few seconds for a block. So like the finality is pretty fast on most Tendermint chains, but I could imagine in the future people trying to do like high frequency trading or like real time like game applications or things like that. We'll still be able to build stuff like that where it's like really, really fast, like 1 millisecond, finality. And so
So
there's no reason that's not possible. It's just no one's worked on it yet. So
with that potential, is it kind your imaginary roadmap that you would like to develop that? Sorry if I'm going too far.
no,
That
no,
you
that's
would like to develop this in the longer time frame, these transaction channels that would allow people to do trading with Bitcoin payment system, etc., um, instantly.
yeah, totally. I mean, we've just been thinking about this stuff for so long that we have like a million ideas for the future roadmap where like, stuff that's far enough out that it's like, okay, maybe it's not worth thinking about yet. We have to focus on everything to get there. But yeah, I'd love to do channels like that one day. And it's not even
Mhm,
just Bitcoin payments, it can just be anything that's happening on any Cosmos chain, any sort of DeFi thing that you can come up
mhm.
with. And
Yeah.
yeah, I love thinking about those sort of little technical things that we can build
Mhm,
someday.
mhm.
And I think we'll get there. So
You did mention that Nomic is not just a bridge, but it means to bring the DeFi solution, um, or Bitcoin for the DeFi. Could you share some DeFi solutions, how that could be used? My first guess would be like, hey, you can use Bitcoin in the pools, right? And create a pool, the NBTC and Atom, for example, which maybe would be native token on IBC. I mean, in the Cosmos ecosystem, who knows? Is there any other solution that could be for the Bitcoin in the Cosmos ecosystem?
yeah, I think pools are a good place to start, but really if we just look at all of DeFi and see all the things people are doing, there's so much of it in Cosmos that hasn't been tackled yet. So like and it's starting to be on like, projects on Juno and Evmos and whatever. But
Hmm.
I think, there's still a lot of room for, we could do like options markets or things like that. Like that's something that's, has a lot of volume in certain places. Then once you have that, you could do like structured products with like covered calls and stuff so that you can earn yield on Bitcoin. And
Hmm.
yeah, I'd love to do like an NUSD stable coin sort of thing, and then like lending markets. And I don't know, just everything, basically just looking out at everything that's big in DeFi and that's working in DeFi, and then building that, but where like a sort of
How
selling point is that you can do it with Bitcoin too, where you normally can't do that.
have you thought like how would you design an USD? Of course, I believe that could change in the future, but did you have thought how to design an USD uh, that maybe would be resistant. I don't know if it's possible to very volatile market and causing the mass liquidations, which are not necessarily bad, because I heard from the chat of Zaki that this liquidation process, it's only important that it's good, because that can make sure that the stable coin is flat, but it's probably not great for anyone who is backing this stable coin. So did you explore like what would be the perfect design here to
Yeah. I think like a maker style stablecoin makes a lot of sense because Maker DAO's been around for so long, and like they've really proven that that's a really robust mechanism. It could be less capital efficient, and that's something that could be worked on over time. But
Mhm.
like yeah, Maker has just really proven to like be robust through all these market movements because it's been around for a while now,
Yeah,
and so I think that's a really good
everyone
start.
everyone replacing the maker DAO, with the difference that now you will be able to use Bitcoin, and I guess once the price tank, you go more collateralized with USD, right, with stable coin. And what would be the best case for success of Nomic in your head?
Well, I mean, the best case, it's like infinite, we can just like nom up all the world's value or something, and like there's a million DAOs built on Nomic that are doing all this real world business and like all these DeFi protocols. But that's like many years. That's like just like the maximally most ambitious way we can think about it. I think there's a lot of realistic steps to get to like the full dream, but
I mean, I would say something, because I mean I like to ask like the best case scenario, right? And many people would hate me because I believe Trump is a very controversial figure in US. But I remember he actually has one sentence that I really like: if you dream big, because you might be right, or something like this. But that
yeah.
was like, hey, if you are bothered to dream, just dream the biggest you can. And so, but outside of politics, it was something, it actually started like a few years ago. I heard it. I was like, hey, this is, despite like non-political, that's quite a nice sentence. That's why I'm asking for that.
I
But
like that.
so, yeah, I will find the exact sentence, but it it was pretty cool. Um, with so the Bitcoin, is it going to be this main product, or over time, as DeFi solutions grow, the importance of Bitcoin would get smaller for Nomic?
I think it could always be like a central important part, but yeah, it won't always be the only thing. It's at least something we've put so much thought into, so it really makes sense right now as a product to build that the market needs. But
Hmm.
like a big part of what we do, like building our own custom stack, we've invested a lot of effort into just being able to like build things quickly and like build really good products quickly. And like we still have a long way to go, still have a lot of like kinks to work out, but we think we can get to a point where we can just sort of like keep executing on like launching new products. And so like
Hmm.
whether that's like a DeFi protocol or whether that's like some innovative new DAO, I
Hmm.
think we want to just be constantly putting cool things out there. And yeah, some of them will use Bitcoin really heavily, some it might not matter as much, but yeah.
I saw the tweet. I think even today someone was saying that there was being work done for Cosmos SDK in Rust. Um, and I was wondering, isn't something that kind of you would, it's not Cosmos SDK, right? But you have this stack that you could, where you can also implement IBC, So do you want to offer this as the open source uh, stack similar to Cosmos SDK? And does it have any advantages to Cosmos SDK in Rust or disadvantages?
Yeah, I mean, it is all open source and it's all out there.
Hmm.
No one else is like using it to build their chain or anything. I think one day we might get there, but we're sort of just, we're small teams. We're not focused on like helping other people use this stuff we're building. We're just focused on, building our bridge and building IBC into it and all those sort of things. But I think, yeah, eventually it might be at a point where we're sort of helping people build with our stack. I think there's a lot of differences from the SDK just in how we think about things. Yeah, I'm not sure what that Rust Cosmos SDK looks like. That sounds interesting. I'll look at that. But
I, I will have to find the tweet. I think I saw somewhere Jack Zampolin was tweeting that there are people working on it. So I will try to search for it for you as well.
I would
Um,
guess that like if it's basically just replicating the Go
mhm,
Cosmos SDK but in Rust, then it's not living up to the full potential of Rust then, because like sort of if you're building a framework, the language you choose is a big part of how you design that. And so if you're just copying something that's designed for a different language, there's probably some, things you're missing out on. So
so your stack, in simple words, is built for the full potential of Rust,
yeah.
and that's great. I mean that could be clipped for someone. You started to build Nomic few years ago, and I know you are a very big Bitcoin believer, and I wonder, is there anything that disappoints you with Bitcoin,
Yeah, I think
or something that you discover then recently as well that disappoints you more and makes you thinking about the Bitcoin problems?
yeah, I mean definitely increasingly over time, like so much of the Bitcoin community has been like a little bit closed-minded because there's so many cool new things going on outside of Bitcoin and crypto, and there's a lot of Bitcoiners who just want to like say like, oh, all of that is a scam and sort of not look at any of it. And but like I think there's some great parts about the Bitcoin community too, just the fact that there's so many people that believe so deeply in Bitcoin, and like that's really a strong thing.
Hmm.
It's like any of these crypto ecosystems, it's sort of like the value comes from just how much people believe in it. There's so many people that will just never sell Bitcoin no matter what. It's
Hmm.
like it's almost a religious belief in Bitcoin. And so like how can it fail if there's all these people that believe in it that strongly? And so I think I do sort of feel this shift where increasingly many of these people are more open to other,
Hmm.
crypto systems. There's a lot of Bitcoin maximalists that are getting into Cosmos and whatever. And like, I think that's really cool. It's sort of a big spectrum where on one side of the spectrum are these sort of diehard maximalists who will never buy any other token, never look at anything else. But the Bitcoin community is
Hmm.
so big. Like there's so many random influencers that you've never heard of that you like will run into on Twitter that have like 500,000 followers or something like that are just only talking about Bitcoin. So like that
Yeah.
community is really big, even if it doesn't feel like it from the other
Hmm.
parts of crypto. But like I think yeah, increasingly a lot of those people are on parts of the spectrum where they believe in Bitcoin, but they'll also try out Cosmos stuff and stake and
Hmm.
whatever. And I think that's pretty cool. So I hope that trend continues.
Any thoughts on what could destroy Bitcoin going in the future? Simply decrease the importance of it, or like make people stop using it? Um,
I mean, it seems hard at this point just because so many people are like, they believe
mhm,
so hard that they'll never change their minds. But
mhm,
I think the way it would fail is just if, like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a
mhm,
maximalist. It's hard for me to even imagine that, but I don't
mhm.
know.
Did you see this part like I sent you from Ethan
Yeah,
words
yeah.
about like velocity of? I'm probably too stupid to bring his word exactly. but he did make the point, and that kind of concerns me with Bitcoin. When I also listen to Michael Saylor, like you never sell Bitcoin, you only borrow against Bitcoin, which is I'm not sure if it was aligning with like Satoshi vision, because it seemed that the rhetoric is you should never use Bitcoin, you only stack Bitcoin, and you use the current credit system that allows you to borrow at the low interest rate and bet that the money of today is worth more than money of tomorrow, and with that you buy Bitcoin because Bitcoin of today is less worth than Bitcoin of tomorrow, in opposite to money. So it doesn't really fix anything. In like that's kind of my thinking, um, that I have. Do you think that this kind of commodity like status of Bitcoin is bad for it, or should it be even concerned?
I think it would be an issue if it was only ever that and it wasn't ever connected to like real world utility and value. And but I think, we can get to the point where like maybe it stays like that, where it's just this commodity that like you just want to stack it and you don't want to use it, but like that's used as collateral in these systems that's like backing these things that do create real value. And so like there's a lot of DeFi mechanisms that I think like we can sort of have the best of both worlds in that case, where like you never want to spend your Bitcoin, but you'll still stake it and you'll still like lend it out to people and things like that. And so you're not losing Bitcoin, you're even earning more, but you're creating this economic activity around it. And yeah, so I
Yeah,
think there's room for both. I think if like that's the first thing to attack is just getting people to believe in it, and like all these people who just want to stack it and don't want to use it, that's just pure belief in the value of Bitcoin. And that's a good place to start, but yeah, it would fail if it was only ever that.
yeah. Um, so that's what I was thinking. I still feel, hey, maybe I'm wrong, right? Because like I could see like Bitcoin would be this magic commodity used in the DeFi systems, l- but not really locked only into cold wallets of people that borrow against and stack more, because this is exactly what creates, for example, like housing bubbles, right? Like you have only, this buy more because price go up, which creates the bubble that burst. um in DeFi system it would cause the mass liquidations. Matt, your favorite IBC chains? Sorry if
I'm
it's
bad
less
at,
about Nomic, but about other
no, no.
chains. But many people have great respect to you, so I want to listen what's in Matt's head.
I'm really bad at picking favorites, and there's just so many good ones. But like,
Hmm.
obviously, like the hub is so cool that like started this whole movement of Cosmos. And Osmosis is doing such a good job, like housing all this activity that's happening. Uh, I've been impressed with Kujira lately because it feels like
Hmm.
they sort of came out of nowhere and they're already growing so
Hmm.
big, and they have like cool thoughts about DeFi and plans on what they're doing. Like I think like a month ago, like it wasn't even launched yet, right? And then now it's already like the number 4 chain on Map of Zones by like amount of IBC
Hmm.
activity or something like that. Um, so I think yeah, it's hard to pick favorites, but yeah, definitely just like Juno and Evmos are have these growing ecosystems on them and cool things being created.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
really, I just say yeah, like the top 5 by IBC activity.
Did you try to interact with any of these chains, or you don't really hold like tokens? You don't interact with these ecosystems personally?
I'm not so much of a Bitcoin maximalist that I don't do that. Yeah, I definitely have
Yeah.
claimed my airdrops. I've played with all of them at least a little bit.
Yeah.
So yes.
Um, that's cool. Oh. I wonder if you do. Do you know Zuko from Zcash?
Oh yeah.
Um, he had the interview with Kobe from the podcast Up Only. Not sure if you watched it.
Mm-mm.
I will send it because I actually like I was into Zcash quite early because I thought it's like cool project. I had big respect to Zuko because I know he's from this like early community. And this question I was asking, like, if you disappointed with anything about Bitcoin. Was it like Zuko was disappointed about some Bitcoin things, and he's moving away kind of. That's what I got from this interview. For example, that like proof of stake is fairer than proof of work in yield generation
Hmm.
for every person. Um, so any news about the second airdrop? Yumiri is asking.
Hmm. I guess one hint I can give is don't just stake to the biggest validators. That it might be helpful to be staking to smaller validators, and you might get a better airdrop. So
Nice. I need to restake to myself from some of that because I'm still spreading amongst some. You're a validator too. I
just on
passed you.
Nomic.
Yeah, I passed you
Yeah, I've
recently.
staked some to you on Nomic.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Um, but it's be like if you lower your fee, but I don't think that's your goal. Because you have relatively high fee for the. But
Yeah,
I
I said it like on the first day of Nomic, and I just never changed it. I think so. Yeah, I guess I
mhm,
should bring it down a little bit. It seems like everyone's at 5% or something. So
yeah. But I didn't tell you. I think I owe you. I've been pretty transparent. Like I have the partner who manage my node because I'm non-technical enough to not do it right. So I'm open about this. But if you didn't know, I should be transparent about this. That.
can you say who it is, or is that a secret?
No. It's small person is the he has TED crypto validator, which is he's also nomic, and so people did said that it could be like a civil issue that there was some discussion. But there is few people in TED crypto. He's quite low, and I'm personally with him as the Don Kryptonium validator. So I did wanted to be a validator on some chains, and I said it public on Twitter, and then some people approached me. I'm sure you know the friends validators. So I
Hmm.
spoke to them. They said they offer white label and few others people, and I was in touch with this guy who has that crypto who didn't have any validator. He wasn't even on Nomic in active set then. He had only like very small chains. But I chat to him like you, and like he was really good, and we are both small. I want to partner with you, and we split 50-50. Like that's so that's why, like, so yeah, he has that crypto, and since then he did find his place. So he's now validator in Evmos and just started Juno, so it grew for him. If that would become problem one day, right, I have my um JSON files to move it. But for now, this partnership is like um is really good because he's like, we have all the Telegram bot saying, so we have good monitoring and stuff. What your thought about the kind of white label validators?
No, I'm definitely here for all the small validators. I think that makes
Hmm.
sense, that we're gonna always have to sort of keep up this effort of trying to bring in new people and like have a diverse set and have it all
Hmm.
spread out. Yeah, I worry that like so much of the voting power across all Cosmos chains. Like a
Yeah,
lot of these validators might just be, for all we know, they can be the same people, you know, like running 5 of them or more than that. So like
yeah,
the white label thing is a little bit scary if it's someone who's already like half of the voting
yeah.
power or something like that. So
So
I'm glad you didn't say binary holdings, you know, but
oh, like yeah, that would be that's why like I'm open who does this. And so I say like, if I would go, and I don't know if friends are happy that I talk about, if I would go with friends validator, the start would be much easier, because I'm pretty sure I would get plenty of delegations from them, like to help me start, right? Because, but then also like, maybe they run others, they're already big, and I enjoy this personal connection. Like imagine you running my node, like I can talk to you, I can learn, hey, what is this, what is that. So yeah, Ted has like 3,000 nomic. I think I have like 10,000 nomic. We are we are not there, so as I said, like he wasn't there, he's finding his place. And I have some interviews with them. I don't know if binary does white label, but I do heard that many of the top validators actually do offer white label. And
yeah, it's a little scary to me. We just got to make sure there's at least a
yeah,
lot of them if they're doing that, and
yeah.
but they're not all. Are you in Berlin? I can't remember. Or
No, no, no. I'm in Poland, near a city called Wrocław. I'm like 1 hour away from German border. It's like 3 hours drive to Berlin from my place, but it's
okay,
different country.
interesting.
Yeah.
Because it feels like a lot of these big validators, like there's like a community, like they all know each other and hang out, and they're
Yeah,
all in
yeah,
shape.
yeah, yeah.
And like
That
at this point, like when our networks are small, like maybe that's okay. But in the future, when it's like, if this is a bridge holding large amounts of Bitcoin, if all the validators can really just like go sit at a table together, then it's like, it's a little bit scary that like they collectively control this, like so much of the voting
yeah,
powers. It'll just always be an effort over time to like, stake to smaller validators who like,
yeah,
like part of the reason why decentralization works is because it's like this diverse set of many different people who don't necessarily know each other, and like
hmm,
uh yeah, so we'll just always have to keep bringing new people in and stuff like that.
yeah. That's why I like didn't want to do it, because you said Berlin. Yeah, it seems a lot of validators from Germany that go to dinners together. And it's great for business. I think they do good ventures, but I guess like maybe not the best. And like for everyone small starting, I think like starting also like with the smaller partnership, when you find good connection and the trust, it's a little bit better. I I would like
That
to
being
learn.
said, I don't want to like throw shade on these people or anything like that, because it's like
Yeah.
they have proven to be trustworthy. They're not doing anything bad, and like these things are
Hmm.
decentralized, and I think they care about that. Uh, and even like Bitcoin, feels very decentralized, but also like there's like a small amount of, it's like just Chinese mining pools, that control so
Hmm.
much of the hash rate there, and like that's proven to be fine, and like they haven't abused that power in any
Hmm.
way. So I think, these decentralized systems work really well, even if it's just a little bit decentralized. But also at the same time, it's nice to strive for like
Hmm.
having a diverse set. So
What would you advise? Because as I said, I personally, I'm not good person to run my own validator. I never used Linux. I never wrote line of code. This is not the life I come from.
hmm.
I come from more of the, work with Photoshop and like trying, communication and photography. And if I want to get engaged and like, I'm not my own validator, but if like, and I know Soy, who is in the comments, he also wants to be validator. Like, what's the place for these people to be part of the network? Like, we can go with this white label and find partners, or should we actually learn? Is it easy to learn? Uh, just
I think it might be easy enough to learn. I think there's efforts we can put into making it as easy as possible. Um,
Mhm,
all these things are just going to have to be things that over time we improve the network, because like so many of these, even these big validators, they're just running on these sort of cloud providers, and so like
mhm,
that's another thing that hurts decentralization, where like
mhm,
maybe this data center will go down, and that's like a huge amount of the voting power, even if it's many
mhm,
different validators. And so like, but it's like hard if you're trying to run your validator at home, like that's increased decentralization, but also it's less reliable. Your internet might go
mhm,
out, your power might go out. And so if you want to be someone helping run these things, I think there'll be other things, like other pieces of infrastructure other than validators as well, that could be
mhm,
easy enough to run, and you're like helping decentralize things. So for instance, like eventually the Bitcoin signatories for the bridge, it won't only be the validators, but it can be other nodes too. And
mhm,
if we have just many of these, it might not be as critical for it to be online all the time. If there's like 1,000 of them, then like some amount of them can be down and it's fine.
mhm.
But yeah, I think we can just try to make it easier. I think what you're doing now sounds fine. I'm glad you didn't go with just like the biggest validators. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's a hard.
I mean, if even now, let's say these two validators grow to like top 10, I have to change. That doesn't feel, I spoke to some people. I feel like, hey, it's fine what I do. I'm transparent. It's good guy. But if I go top 10, I would start thinking, hey, I need to find. I'm looking for someone for the. Maybe I could like have the locally registered company with other tech person while I'm the front man running it, right? So but it would be cool if crypto could accommodate this all non-technical people as well to be part. And it would be great if validating would be just as easy as making transactions in the wallet, right? Because that allows to participate everyone in the economy. That's also
Yes, I agree
unfair
with
because
that. I think
Mhm,
that makes sense. There's also some nice overlap that like, that's a big virtue in the Bitcoin community already, is running your own node. And so like those aren't
mhm,
like miners, so it's a little bit different than being a validator. But like if you could run a full node for Bitcoin, then like you could also run a validator for a proof of stake
mhm,
network. So I think, if there's an increased trend of Bitcoin people getting into this kind of thing,
mhm,
there's a lot of like they've already done so much thinking and like built all these things to make it really easy for these non-technical people to run nodes at home. And so that could be a cool thing to sort
yeah.
of adopt into our world too.
I i wonder, like, because you said about is time okay for you? Like, you in rush or something?
I have a few
Um,
more minutes. Yeah.
yeah. Uh, do you want to shield the server providers? Like, which one you personally use maybe for
I feel like that's
uh,
bad OPSEC to say it. Maybe, I don't know. I'm using not the biggest one, but one of
mhm.
them. So
And but what would you not recommend to use maybe for the people?
I think whatever's most common. I don't know if does everyone use AWS. I don't know. I feel
Mhm.
like it's split up enough that there's
Yeah.
probably just use any of them.
Yeah. I use like we use OVH. That's
Mm.
the, not sure if it's okay. I heard it's good. It's okay to say it public, I guess, right? that
Yeah, I
tool.
don't know. Yeah.
But you not you using them at home, or like you don't have your you're not running the validator from home, right? Like
No,
you're not
that'd be
you know.
cool. I think the next best thing, which is like more expensive and harder to do, but like,
Mm-hmm,
as these networks grow and like we need more secure setups, it'd be cool to like sort of use like a local data center where you can
Mm-hmm.
sort of pay for rack space, where you actually like set up your own hardware or have
Mm-hmm.
them set it up, and like you own the machine and it's just in their building. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think like that's sort of the end game for a lot of this, I think, is you could have
Yeah.
your own hardware in some secure building like that.
I want to shield someone. There is Validator Consensus one. I'm not sure if he's on Nomic. He's on few. So he runs some data center here in Poland, and I know he has also offices in Warsaw with the servers, few servers that you can rent, or or you can buy servers and place there as well. So this is something you speak, and yeah, like there's quite a few validators actually doing this, so maybe this could be solution, but of course if too many go with this one, that's another issue, right?
Yeah.
um Thank you, Matt, for this chat. Not only about Nomic. I will bother you from time to time to chat, ask about Nomic. um
Yeah, please
and
do. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
i'm
fun to
i'm
talk to you about this stuff.
I'm trying to stay relevant with everything that's happening with Nomic, and I thought these days was like good days to bring it. Once again, congratulations on the first transaction, and hopefully soon we all can do IBC transactions. So enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Take care.